TIFU by pretending to speak French at work for 2 years. I swear it started as a joke. It was my first week at this new job, corporate office, open floor plan, those depressing beige cubicles and a break room that always smelled vaguely like burnt popcorn and disappointment. I was trying so hard to make a decent impression. New guy energy. Smiling too much. Laughing too loud. You know the vibe. So, anyway, on like day 3, I was heating up my sad little microwave pasta when one of the cooler girls from marketing, Taylor, asked what I thought of the espresso machine. I don't know why. Maybe I panicked. Maybe I was trying to seem worldly. Maybe I had a death wish. But instead of saying something normal, I did a little flourish with my hands, raised my eyebrows, and said, "Ah, très magnifique, comme un vrai café à Paris." Fake accent and everything. Like a cartoon skunk seducing a baguette. She laughed. I thought that was it. Until she said, "Wait, do you speak French?" Right there was my fork in the road moment. I could have said no. Could have admitted I was joking. But no. No. My dumb brain decided the socially intelligent thing to do would be to say, "Yeah, a bit. I studied abroad in Lyon for a semester." Why Lyon? I've never even been to Canada. Taylor got so excited. Turns out her cousin's wife is from Marseille or some crap, and she's always wanted to learn French. Within 2 hours, it somehow spread around the office that I was the French guy. Someone even updated my Slack bio to include a little flag emoji. By the end of the week, the CFO called me Monsieur in passing. I wish I was joking. And instead of correcting anyone, I leaned in. Started Googling phrases at my desk like how do you say deadline in French and common office terms en français. I started signing emails with cordialement, which, to be honest, even I didn't understand fully. That was 2 years ago. And now? I'm about to be assigned to a major French-speaking client because apparently I'm fluent. I am not. I am catastrophically, irreversibly, screaming into a pillow knot. This is only the beginning. So after the espresso incident and my impulsive claim of being a world-traveling francophone, things started small. At first it was kind of funny. Taylor would occasionally toss me a bonjour in the mornings, and I'd hit her back with a salad and a confident little nod, like I knew what I was doing. It felt harmless. But then came the first translation request. Our department got a random marketing package from a potential French vendor, brochures, a sample campaign, some slideshow deck with more gradients than sense. My manager, Claire, pokes her head over my cubicle and says, "Hey! This is perfect. Can you take a look and tell us what they're offering?" I froze mid-sip of my LaCroix like a raccoon caught stealing a Pop-Tart. Sure," I said, casually flipping open the booklet as if I wasn't on the verge of sweating through my shirt. "Let me just brush up on some of the specifics." Which is how I ended up in the bathroom stall with my phone, frantically typing entire paragraphs into Google Translate and trying to make sense of phrases like publicite immersive multi-canal. I gave Claire a polished little summary about how they specialize in immersive cross-platform campaigns for lifestyle brands. I have no idea if that's true. Honestly, I might have translated a funeral service. But she bought it. Thanked me. Even CC'd me on the follow-up email to the vendor, calling me our in-house French whiz. That's when the requests started rolling in. People from HR, marketing, even IT were suddenly treating me like a human Duolingo owl. "Can you help me write a birthday message for our Paris office? What's the polite way to say we need to reschedule? Do the French use exclamation marks?" I began living a double life. In the office? Confident French liaison with worldly charm and a tasteful obsession with croissants. At home? A grown adult hiding under the covers, whispering "Gee sweetie soul" to himself while trying to memorize Duolingo all dialogues. I should have stopped then. But the praise? The weird respect? It was addictive. No one had ever looked at me like I was useful before. Then came the email that changed everything. Subject: urgent, client meeting with Groupe Le Maître, Paris HQ. Need French support in client call next week. Can you lead translation? I stared at it for 5 full minutes. My French isn't bad. It's non-existent. I stared at the email like it was a court summons. Lead translation? With real French people? In a video call? It was from my boss's boss, Michelle, VP of Client Strategy. She's the kind of woman who wears designer glasses without lenses and could have you fired with a smile. I couldn't just reply, actually, I've been faking a core part of my professional identity for 2 years, lol. So, like any rational adult, I walked calmly to the stairwell, closed the door, and dry heaved into a trash can. I had exactly 6 days to become fluent in French or fake it so convincingly that no one would catch on. So I did what any desperate, self-sabotaging fraud would do. I crammed. I downloaded every French learning app known to mankind. Duolingo, Babbel, Rosetta Stone, an AI chatbot that tried to flirt with me in broken French. I watched French movies with subtitles. I followed cooking YouTubers from Bordeaux and tried to imitate their accents. I even attempted to translate our company's slide deck using only my phone and blind optimism. But French isn't just vocabulary. It's rhythm. It's vibes. And I had the linguistic rhythm of a dead fax machine. By day 3, I was hallucinating conjugations in my sleep. At one point I was pacing my kitchen reciting. Je vais parler, tu vas parler, il va parler. I will speak, you will speak, he will speak. And my upstairs neighbor banged on the floor, probably thinking I was summoning demons. I thought about coming clean, really. But the deeper I got, the harder it became. The lie wasn't just a lie anymore. It had roots. It had fan art. People respected me for it. Michelle once said I was cosmopolitan. I'm literally from Ohio. The night before the call, I sat at my laptop with 5 windows open and translators, pronunciation guides, a half-finished Reddit post titled How to Fake Fluency in 24 Hours, and a whiskey I did not sip slowly. And then, the worst part. Taylor, the original culprit, bless her, texted me. So excited to see you in action tomorrow. Gonna be so cool hearing you translate. Smiling face with smiling eyes. My stomach dropped. This was no longer just a call. It was a spectacle. There was no way out. I was either going to pull off the performance of a lifetime, or crash and burn in front of my entire company. I didn't sleep the night before. Not a wink. Not even a nap. I lay in bed rehearsing basic phrases like a panicked exchange student on day 1 of a semester abroad they weren't qualified for. My notes were everywhere, on sticky notes, on my screen, in a literal stack of flashcards I made at 3 a.m. like a deranged kindergartner prepping for a UN speech. I had written "we equals yes" in 3 different colors like it was some sort of ancient truth I needed to absorb through osmosis. The call was set for 10:30 a.m. At 10:27, I was still debating whether I could fake a medical emergency without it sounding like a lie. Then Michelle pinged the group chat. Everyone ready? Excited for this one. No turning back. I logged in. 6 windows of smiling faces popped up. Our internal team, Michelle, Taylor, some folks from product. Then the French side connected, 4 sharply dressed Parisians with impossibly chic lighting. One guy even had a bookshelf behind him that looked like it had been curated by a museum. Then it started. Michelle gave a brief intro, then said, "And now I'll let our resident French expert, me, take over for intros on our side." What I meant to say. Bonjour à tous, nous sommes ravis d'être ici aujourd'hui. What I actually said. Bonjour. Nous, être, ravi, vous avec. I sounded like a broken Roomba trying to sing Frère Jacques. There was a beat of silence. The French clients politely nodded, but one of them, Amélie, I think, squinted slightly. She had that diplomatic smile people wear when they've just heard something off but don't want to be rude. Michelle beamed. Perfect. Okay, let's move into the agenda. By sheer dumb luck, most of the meeting was us presenting a slide deck I'd already translated. I read from the notes I'd prepared like my life depended on it. Anytime one of the French clients asked a question, I stalled with, "Good question, let me make sure I'm interpreting it fully." Translation, frantically mute and throw it into Google Translate before answering. But then came the moment. Pierre, the stylish bookshelf guy, switched to rapid-fire French and asked a follow-up question about campaign timelines. And I just stared. My brain heard sounds, not words. Like jazz being thrown down a stairwell. Taylor looked at me expectantly. Michelle leaned forward. I panicked. "Ah," I said confidently. "Elle veut savoir, Lou, temps pour le, yes, campaign." Pierre blinked. "Pardon?" I repeated it, slower and louder, as if that would help. There was a silence. And then Amélie, bless her cold Parisian heart, said gently, "Do you, perhaps, want me to translate? I am fluent in English." And like that, the whole illusion began to shatter. There are moments in life when your soul just leaves your body. When Amélie offered to translate, that was mine. I'm pretty sure I disassociated. One minute I was a fake French prodigy navigating a high-stakes meeting, the next I was watching myself from somewhere near the ceiling, hovering like a ghost of bad decisions. I laughed. That awful, high-pitched laugh people do when they're trying to sound chill, but it comes out more like I have committed fraud in 3 states. Sure, yeah, great idea. Just, double-checking meanings. Nuance and all. Amélie nodded politely. She didn't believe me. Michelle didn't either. Even Taylor's face had dropped into that confused, "Wait, what?" expression. Pierre spoke again, this time more slowly, like I was his elderly grandfather trying to figure out how Bluetooth works. Amélie translated almost instantly, her tone neutral, but her eyes said, "You're cooked, mon ami." And yet, I still didn't come clean. Nope. I doubled down. I started faking comprehension, nodding sagely, throwing out buzzwords like strategy and campaign synergy while internally sobbing and praying no one asked me to conjugate a single verb. I was just repeating English concepts with a vague accent and hoping they'd assume I was being efficient. But then came the dagger. After the call ended, Michelle sent a quick "great job" in Slack. But 5 minutes later, I got a calendar invite. 1:1 with Michelle, 2 p.m. Topic: Language capabilities and client strategy. You know those moments in spy movies where the agent gets called in and never comes back? Yeah. I tried to prepare for the meeting. Typed out possible explanations. None sounded good. It was a harmless lie that spiraled. I didn't think the company would ever need me to actually speak French. I'd been under a lot of stress, and I think I got addicted to Duolingo streaks. Nothing sounded sane. At 2 o'clock sharp, I joined the Zoom. Michelle was already there, sipping tea like she had all the time in the world. "So," she said, smiling faintly, "that was an interesting meeting." I swallowed. She leaned in slightly. "Just to clarify, how fluent would you say you are, exactly?" This was it. No more pretending. No more fake accents. Time to confess. I opened my mouth to tell her everything. And instead I said, "Fluent is a strong word. Why am I like this?" The second those words left my mouth, "Fluent is a strong word," I could practically hear the universe facepalming. Michelle blinked once. Slowly. Like a lizard sizing up prey. "Right. So, what word would you use?" I laughed. She didn't. I cleared my throat. "Conversational?" She said. "Because it sounded a lot like you were not conversing." She had me dead to rights. I could feel it unraveling around me like a knockoff scarf. My career, my dignity, the illusion of being a competent adult, all of it dissolving in real time. So I did the only thing left to do. I confessed. I laid it all out, the espresso machine joke, the misunderstanding, the accidental acceptance of the French guy identity. The sticky notes, the late-night Duolingo marathons,
the time I tried to translate a vendor contract by feeding it into Google Docs and praying.
The whole 2-year lie. I was brutally honest, like the kind of honesty that usually follows a bad breakup or anesthesia. Michelle didn't interrupt once. She just listened, hands clasped, occasionally nodding like a therapist who's too exhausted to be surprised. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then she said, "Well, that explains a few things." Not exactly the reaction I was expecting. Then she sighed and leaned back. "Look. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the more creative professional fabrications I've seen. But we did almost let you lead a live call with international clients under false pretenses. That's not ideal. Fair. I should take this to HR," she continued. "But I'll give you a choice. You can report it yourself and we handle it officially, or you take immediate steps to fix this, own up to your team, and we move forward with zero French-related responsibilities." I almost cried. Seriously. I nodded so hard I gave myself a neck cramp. That afternoon, I scheduled a short all-hands with the marketing team. Called it a clarification meeting. Everyone joined expecting a project update. Instead, they got. "So, I have a confession. I do not, in fact, speak French. At all. Like, not even a little." The room went silent. Then Taylor, sweet Taylor, literally burst out laughing. "Are you kidding me? I thought you were like, bilingual. You wrote my birthday card in cursive French." Yeah. That was from a Pinterest post. I didn't even know what it said. The rest of the team followed suit. Laughter, teasing, a few "oh my god"s. But no one was angry. One guy even said, "Honestly? That's the most committed bit I've ever seen." So, not fired. Not even demoted. Just banned from all things French indefinitely. And then, 2 days later, I got an email from HR. Subject: Internal Language Skills Verification Pilot Program. Guess who they asked to help organize it? I expected the HR email to be a trap. Like, maybe they were testing me. A sting operation. I half expected to show up to the meeting and find security guards waiting with a baguette-shaped baton and a pink slip. But no. It was real. The company was launching a language skills verification initiative, basically a polite way of saying, "Hey, let's make sure no one else is pretending to be fluent in a language they actually learned from cartoons and coffee shop menus." I was being asked to help structure it. Not because I was an expert, obviously. Because I was the cautionary tale. I almost declined. But then Michelle emailed me again, CCANG HR and my manager. "I think my name has a unique perspective that could be really valuable here." Translation: he's already made every mistake possible. Let's have him build the fence around the cliff he swan-dived off. So, I leaned in. The next 2 weeks were surreal. I went from lying in panic sweat during client meetings to helping draft actual policy documents. I sat in on calls with people from legal, IT, even some poor intern who had to compile language proficiency tools. My role? Cultural Integrity Advisor. I am not making that up. I even helped design a form for self-reporting language skills, complete with sliders for speaking, reading, writing, and ability to survive a business dinner without offending someone's grandmother. At one point, someone genuinely asked, "Do you think people are afraid to admit they're not fluent?" And I, a man who once copy-pasted lyrics from a Stromae song into a Slack message, replied, "Fear isn't the issue. Shame is. And momentum. Once a lie like that gets rolling, it's hard to stop." They nodded like I just quoted Sartre. I was wearing a hoodie with a mustard stain on it. Meanwhile, word had spread internally. I became that guy. The fake French guy. Someone changed my Slack name to Jean Fauxpas for a day before HR shut it down. But you know what? People were actually kind. Turns out, everyone's faking something. One coworker told me she'd lied on her resume about knowing Excel macros. Another admitted she claimed to be fluent in Photoshop when she really meant she once removed red eye from a cat photo. Suddenly, my colossal screw-up was making others feel better about their little fakes. I was relatable? Inspiring? Still banned from client-facing international work. Still can't say croissant without someone snickering. But weirdly, I felt more respected than I ever had when I was faking it. So, there I was. No longer a fraud, but not exactly a hero either. Just a guy with a reputation, a new cultural advisory side gig, and a Slack emoji of my face with a tiny French beret someone had added to the custom set. I don't know who did it. I both admire and fear them. A week after the policy rollout wrapped, things had mostly settled. People stopped teasing me every time someone said bonjour, and I was finally getting back to my regular projects, ones that didn't involve any international languages or soul-crushing shame. Then I got a message. From Taylor. Taylor, hey, random question. Did you get this too? Attached was a forwarded email. From Amelie. Yes, that Amelie. The effortlessly poised French client from the meeting where I crash-landed my entire persona. Her email read. Subject, regarding our recent call, follow-up thoughts. Bonjour. I just wanted to say that despite the, shall we say, unexpected twist during our last meeting, we appreciated the transparency that followed. Many people would have tried to bluff through it entirely. It was refreshing, in a strange way. I also wanted to add, your accent was not the worst I've heard. And your courage to keep going was, oddly charming. If you ever do want to actually learn French, I'd be happy to point you to some real resources. Cordialement. Amelie. I sat there rereading it like a rom-com protagonist. Okay, no, this wasn't that kind of story. But still Amelie. The person I feared most. The one who had caught me mid-lie with the elegance of someone stepping over a puddle of nonsense and still complimenting your shoes. She had every reason to torch me, and instead? She sent that. It wasn't forgiveness. Not exactly. It was acknowledgement. Grace. A weird kind of closure. So I replied. Merci, Amelie. I now know how to say that without panicking. And if I ever try to bluff again, I hope it's in something safer, like pretending I know how to golf. P.S. If you ever need help faking English fluency in Ohio, I got you.